It's time. Time to get inspired and empowered. To realize it's never too late to create your next amazing story. Get ready to break through, transform, and start living the life of your dreams. So, are you ready? Truly ready to begin your journey to create your next amazing story in life and love? Great. Let's jump in with your host, Life and Love Transformational Coach, Suzanne Oshima.
Welcome to the It's Never Too Late show. I'm Monica Topetti, your guest host, and today we are turning the tables and interviewing Suzanne Oshima, Life and Love Transformational Coach with your next amazing story. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Monica. I'm so excited to have the tables turned and have you interview me, and so I could share a lot of my wisdom.
Well, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really excited to dive into today's topic. What should you really be looking for in the right man for you? But before we dive in, can you share with our audience a little bit about who you serve and why?
Sure. I help single women transform midlife into their best life and find love again in their next chapter. And the reason why I do that is because, quite honestly, it always breaks my heart when a woman in midlife feels like it's too late for her. And I'm always like, no, it's never too late. You just have to give up the belief that it is too late.
Wow, that's great. You know, that really is a great segue into our topic, which is kind of finding Mr. Right. And, you know, when you first shared this topic with me, I was really intrigued because my perception was, well, you know, women in midlife, they've had previous relationships, perhaps, you know, they've been married, and we kind of know what we're looking for when it comes to the right guy for us. But you said that's not really true.
Now, and here's why, is because if you've been married before, right, or let's just say you were in a long-term partnership for 20, 30 years, is what I find is when women come out of a marriage or a long-term relationship after that amount of time, and it's ended badly or not on the best foot, is sometimes they come out of it with everything they don't want. Well, this is what I know I don't want in a man. And they go down the negative path, right? Of, I don't want a man that does this, or he needs to do this. And so, you know, that's bringing the baggage from your past into the present instead of turning it into the positives of what we truly want in a man. And if you, I don't know about you, Monica, but I believe in the law of attraction and manifestation. And if you focus on everything that you don't want, what do you think you're going to attract into your life, right?
Right. Well, and in the law of attraction, the law of attraction doesn't recognize negative statements. So if you say, I want a man who doesn't smoke, the law of attraction just hears, I want a man and smoking. And so it's kind of like everywhere you go, you run into guys and, you know, they're smokers, and you wonder, you know, why that is. And it's funny when you bring that up, because I kind of think of like, if you go to a grocery store and you have a shopping list, and on your shopping list is everything you don't want. I just went through this with my mom, okay? She had surgery and I had to go get food for her. And she's like, I'm really, really easy. Just, you know, get whatever. And I was like, okay, well, just tell me what you don't want. And so I wound up with this list of, you know, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. So I knew what to steer clear of, but I had no clue, based on her list of what she didn't want, what she actually did want. And I don't think, you know, sometimes we think we're so flexible and it's so obvious what we're looking for, but all we know is what we don't want, which is a great indicator of we don't really know what we want.
Yeah. You know, Monica, that example that you just gave is so funny because I was thinking, and when you brought your mom a bag of groceries or bags of groceries, did you bring it in and was she like, I didn't want that. Why'd you buy
Yes,
that?
yes. And I wasn't on your not. I don't want this list.
So I love that you used an example because we don't even think of that. But, you know, again, so we know what didn't work in the last relationship. So let's turn those into a positive. Like, I'll give you an example of something that I hear a lot of women say. You know, I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men. And so instead of saying, I don't want to attract emotionally unavailable men, say that you want a man who's emotionally available, ready for a relationship, and is authentic and doesn't have walls up, right? So let's turn the negatives into a positive. That's number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the second part of that is what I find is most people make a list, like that shopping list that you were talking about, like of must-haves and deal breakers. And what I find is, well, that's good. A lot of times I find that some of the things people put on there are not really absolute must-haves. And here's what I mean by that is, and a lot of times women will say, I need a man 6 feet tall, right?
Okay.
And do you really need a man 6 feet tall? Does that make for a better relationship? Does that make him the type of man that treats you better? Right? And if you're 5'2", like me, do you really need
Right.
a 6 foot tall man?
Right.
Maybe you would say, I prefer men that are taller.
Okay.
Right? But that should be on your nice to have list. Nice to have. It's not absolute. Absolutes to me are that, I'm drawing a total blank right now. Absolute must-haves are things like religion. If religion is important to you, and religion, you go to church every Sunday, or maybe you go to temple, right?
Right.
Is that you want someone that will go with you in partnership to church or to temple on Friday nights. And so that's important to you, right? So that's an absolute must-have, right?
Right.
Or if maybe you're not as religious, maybe religion, you celebrate Christmas, but you don't go to church on Sundays. So you're like, I just want somebody that observes the major holidays.
Right.
Right? So that can be a nice to have. It doesn't have to be absolute.
Right.
But other things that I think women in midlife aren't thinking about, and this just came up for one of my clients, is she discovered a man that she went out on a couple of dates with that he didn't have any sort of retirement. Right? And that he was going to end up working well past his retirement age. And, you know, I don't know about you, Monica, but if I'm secure in my retirement and what I have set for me in the future, you know, I don't want to have to support somebody else's retirement just because they haven't planned for it, right?
Right.
Right? But if I was married to the person for 20, 30 years and whatever we had, then of course. But when you're coming into it in midlife, you don't want to like fund somebody else's retirement. So you need to think about the things that we didn't think about when we were in our 20s and 30s, right?
Right, right. So what I'm hearing you say is kind of doing a reflection on what are the values that are most important to you. Those should then be your deal breakers, and those should be kind of the personality traits or the lifestyle traits that you're looking for. So, for example, if like in your example, religion is a value, or perhaps family is a value, perhaps you have older children from a marriage, and even though you're getting married later in life, you want to continue celebrating the holidays and birthdays and anniversaries and all of that with your adult children and their families. And so you're looking for somebody who values extended family, whether they have children or not, that they will embrace you and your family, because for you, that's a deal breaker versus, are you 6 feet tall?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, what I always say is, let's stop looking for what looks good on paper. That's a mistake that people make. We did that in our 20s and 30s. What looks good on paper, right? And then you meet them, and then there's no chemistry and attraction. Instead, what I think women should look for, or I should say, what women should be looking for, is those connection points. Right?
Okay.
Those, what I call Me Too moments, where you go, I love doing that too. Me too. Right? I've done that too. I love doing that every weekend. Like, I love paddleboarding. I love running on the beach. One of the things that I'm going to get into is horseback riding. I know not a lot of people would love to do that, but if I found someone that loved to do horseback, I'd be like, oh my God, let's go, right?
Yes.
So those are things so that you can share life experiences with. And, that's really hard to put on a list, but is to really look for those connection points, and Me Too moments are really important.
So do you find that it's kind of a two-part question, but not really. Do you find that most women tend to put lifestyle traits over personality traits, or is one more important than another? For example, I like to go to Vegas and gamble, and so that's kind of like a lifestyle trait. Or maybe I just like to travel, and the personality trait is I really would like somebody who's a good listener. Mm-hmm. Do people tend to distribute those evenly, or would you say that women should be putting more emphasis on one or the other?
I don't see one trumping the other.
Okay.
But what I do see is where women put way too much emphasis on the chemistry and attraction to the point where it can blind them. And when I say blind them, here's what I mean is we all love chemistry and attraction, right? And it is considered a drug, by the way. And we can get addicted to it. But that doesn't mean just because you have so much chemistry and attraction with someone, that doesn't mean he's the right man for you, right? Because then what a lot of women do is they forget to look at, like, you talked about the values, right? And then the lifestyle traits, and then the personality. Is they put so much emphasis on that, then they miss the red flags of that he's not really the right man for you, but just because there's so much chemistry and attraction, they're like, no, this is the right relationship. It's more about what a lot of women forget is, and again, this is hard to put in a list, but I want women to start thinking about this. This is more in how he treats you. How does he make you feel? Not only when you're with him, right? But also in between dates when you're not with him. And what I mean by that is in between dates, like if you see him this week and then you don't see him again for another 3 weeks. In between the 3 weeks, are you hearing from him or are you hearing crickets? And you're kind of wondering, I don't know if we're in a relationship. He seems to just disappear when we're not together. And so it starts to make her feel anxious, right? And feeling like, I know he's an amazing man when I'm with him, but when we're not together, I don't know what he's doing, and I feel like we're not really connected. And quite honestly, now I'm starting to not trust him, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of women forget to really think about these things. How does he treat you? How does he make you feel when you're with him, when you're out, when you're not with him? Do you trust him when you're with him, when you're without him? How does he make you feel, like safe Or do you feel insecure and do you feel anxious and, like you're reaching out to him because you're feeling like, I don't know.
Yeah, I have so many friends who date guys, and on their dates, they're great. I mean, they're doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And then, a couple days go by and a couple days go by. Sometimes, they're waiting kind of to see if they're going to ask him out for the weekend. A couple of other weeks go by, and you feel like, okay, this person's not interested in me. And then all of a sudden out of the blue, it's like, hey, yeah, you want to go do something. And so in order to really feel like you're of value to a person and feel like they're part of their life, you assume that, or hope that they're thinking about you during the non-dating time, during the week, just like you're, thinking about them. But it's interesting you bring up the chemistry thing, because I have one friend in particular, and she's midlife, and she kind of like, you know what, I've had great passion and I've had great love, and look how that turned out. And so, I don't really care. I don't know if I'm going to really be that passionate about somebody. I don't really know either A, if that exists for me anymore at this age, or if that's all that it's cracked up to be. And so she winds up going for these guys that are really like into her. But in the end, it doesn't work out because she just hasn't developed any kind of passion for them. So do you see that working in reverse too?
Yeah, but here's what I would say about your friend. Is just based on what you shared with me, and I say this with love, is she's telling herself a story of how it's not going to work out, right?
Yes.
And she needs to do the inner foundational work, because she has a program running in the background of her mind that I'm never going to find love again, or like that it's going to be that great, and so she's blocking herself. And so she can put herself out there and date as many men as she wants, and they'll be really into her. But there's something in her head that's telling her, do I really want this? Do I really not? I would figure that out before she keeps dating men and it's not going anywhere, or not where she wants it to go.
Yeah, totally. She is, I think, like a lot of women, and trying to take control of the future, take control of the relationship. This didn't work out, therefore I'm going to kind of do the opposite. And the self-sabotaging aspect of that is there's certain components that you have to have in order to make a relationship work, regardless. And so my question is, at women at this, stage, again, as we've talked about, maybe they've been married before, or definitely previous relationships, how do you get over the bridge from saying, okay, this happened in my past and this is how this relationship ended. Now I've met a new man who maybe has similar interests, but just because he has similar interests doesn't mean that he's going to alienate me. For example, I'll give you another example of a girlfriend that I have. She is what I call a sports widow. So when she was married, her husband would go into his cave Saturday and Sunday and watch sports and abandoned her. And so she, would go shopping with friends, or, learn to take up new interests. But at the same time, that was her time really to be with her husband. And he just kind of had blinders on. And so now when she dates, if a guy mentions that he watches sports at all, she'll automatically, cut him off her list. How do you kind of bridge that gap?
She's getting triggered. And she's bringing her old baggage from her marriage into new relationships. And she's also making the new man pay for what her husband did.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Men like sports, most men, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're going to look for a man that doesn't like sports, could you find that? Of course you can. but you're not dealing with the root cause of what's going on for her. Right? She's looking at the superficial of, he likes sports, I'm not going to be a sports widow again, right?
Right. Right.
And so if you really think about it, you know, her ex-husband was really into it. Like, he went into his little man cave and he would disappear. How about instead of either or, right, is what if she found a man that likes sports, but it didn't like consume his entire weekend and that he didn't disappear? Or, you know, that she really found that, you know what, you like sports, I don't. So I'm going to go and do my own thing. But can we also make date night special, and that we plan that every week instead of getting into the same old routine of you watching sports, me going out with my girlfriends, and then us not having together time? So there's ways around it, but your friend isn't dealing with the root cause and she's blocking herself because, like I said, could she find a man that doesn't like sports? Maybe.
Right. Right. Is there any other tips that you can give to women on what they should be kind of on the lookout for to find the right man, and more specifically, you know, find the right man for them?
Yeah, it's, you know, you talked about one of your girlfriends earlier who, like, in between dates, she was like, the weekend's coming up, I don't know if he's going to ask me out. And I say, watch a man's actions, don't listen to his words. Wow. If a man is really interested in you, he will pursue you. If you're not hearing from him for like a couple of weeks at a time, you shouldn't be waiting around, number one. You should be dating multiple men. And sometimes I find that a lot of women have a hard time with dating multiple men until you're in an exclusive relationship. And it's important. You're not waiting around. Don't wait around. And if he does reach out to you and you have plans with another man, say, unfortunately, I can't get together this weekend. I already have plans. Because you want to train him. Ask me out earlier. Don't ask me out on Friday for Saturday.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Because women who've been in long-term relationships or who've been married for a while, you know, they're used to being with one man. And I know I've talked to one friend in particular that I have that says, she says, I can't juggle multiple men. Like I date with intention. Not that I date with intention to get married, but I date with intention to find like a companion. And, you know, if you're not interested or I'm not interested and I don't want to waste my time, juggling too many men is just too confusing. But really, you're saying that that's kind of sabotaging herself. How do you get over just being in that box of like just focused on one man at a time?
And first of all, I totally get it. And I've had clients that's how they felt is, you know, back when I was in my 20s, you know, you just dated, and if it worked, great. And if it didn't, then you would move on to another man, right? Mm-hmm. And so I get that a lot of women aren't programmed for that. But here's the thing. Dating has completely changed. And it changes all the time. And now you're not optimizing your chances of meeting the right man if you're not open to dating multiple men. And let me just say, when I say multiple men, for some women that are comfortable with that, that can be several men. For women that aren't comfortable with that, that could just be one other man.
Okay.
And as my mom used to say, is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Until you are in an exclusive relationship, you are not, and you have that conversation, you are not in an exclusive relationship. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of women make, is they assume that they're in an exclusive relationship because they see him all the time. And they've had sex, and they think, I don't think he's dating anyone else. He wouldn't have time to date anyone else. They think that, but they haven't had the conversation. And I can't tell you, Monica, how many women I've seen get their heart broken because they think they're in an exclusive relationship, and he's like, no, we're not. And so you are not in an exclusive relationship until you have that conversation. And, going back to your friend as the example, like how she said, well, I date with intent and either you're into it or you're not. That works great, but it doesn't. And here's what I mean by that is, a relationship or dating is two people. It's not her way or the highway.
Right.
And it's not his way or the highway. You have to work with people to make it work. And very rarely do you meet someone and go, okay, I just want to date only you. And it's the same for women and men. Like if a man said to her on the second date, I only want to date you. And she's like, I don't know, right? It's a little too much too soon. We have to take the time to get to know people. We don't know until we know. And so for her to pull the eject button, I think it's a little premature.
Talking about exclusive relationships, I think this is a really interesting topic too, because, if the last time you dated was 20 or 30 years ago, culture was a little bit different back then. And you kind of had something in your mind about, okay, well, maybe the 3-week marks, this, and the 3-month mark, remarks this and that kind of thing. If you've been seeing somebody, say you're seeing multiple people, and you've been seeing somebody though pretty steadily for a period of time, is there like, I don't know, a time frame, a time limit to bring up? If he's not bringing up the exclusivity conversation, should you?
So that's a loaded question.
I know, right? That's a whole separate topic.
I know. It truly is. But let me address the first part. The reason why I don't believe in time limits of 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever it is. And here's why. When I explain it to you in this way, you'll understand.
Okay.
So if a woman is dating them, I'm going to give you couple A and then couple B. Couple A, both have been dating for 3 months. Okay. Couple A, they see each other on a regular basis, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. In between dates, he contacts her. He texts her on a regular basis. He has phone calls with her. Like she never feels uncertain about the weekend. She kind of knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Couple B have been dating for 3 months too. But he's like one of your friends, right? Mm-hmm. She goes out on a date with them and then she hears crickets for 2 to 3 weeks. And she's like, I don't know what's happening this weekend. She hears nothing. And then she gets a text of, hey, what's up? Right?
Yeah, right.
And then they go out, have a great date. And then he mentions nothing about seeing her the next time. But now this has been going on for 3 months. So the time frame is the same. Right?
Great point.
So couple B, that would be an awkward conversation because clearly they are not even there. And it should be pretty obvious that he's not looking for anything exclusive with her because he keeps doing the stepping in and pulling back thing, right? Whereas this other couple, he's being consistent. He's showing up consistently. She doesn't have question marks swirling around in her head going, I don't know where I stand. She knows where she stands. So that's where I say watch a man's actions, don't listen to his words. And, for the woman in the couple B where she's not hearing from him, ladies, if that's you, stop making excuses for him. Stop saying, oh, well, he's really busy with work. No. If a man is into you, he will pursue you. He won't do these check-ins once every 3 to 4 weeks, right?
Well, and you know what? I think wrapping this all up, I think that's such a great point. And the whole topic of, today is finding the right man for you. And first and foremost, yes, all of these things are important. Lifestyle, personality traits, values, connecting the dot, the Me Too moments. But find a guy that's into you and is not afraid to show that he's into you and is not afraid to make time in his life to make you a part of his life. Because just because he checks all of your boxes, if you don't feel like he's really making you a priority or is pursuing you, he's not the right man for you.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that you said that.
Well, Suzanne, this has been amazing. We got some really great tips and insights today. And I know for ladies that might want to take a deeper dive into this whole topic, you actually offer a free masterclass online, which is called The Secrets to Meet a Quality Man. Can you tell us a little bit more about the class and how women can register?
Sure. So it's a free masterclass that I have. And in the masterclass, I tell you the number one way to meet a quality man. And it's based on facts and statistics. But also, I share with you in this masterclass, if you are doing online dating and it's not working for you, I will share with you, why it's not working for you and how to turn that around. So to register for that free masterclass, if you're watching the video, you could click on the link right in this video or below the video to register for that. Or if you're listening to the podcast, just go to yournextamazingstory.com and it's at the top of the homepage.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the It's Never Too Late show, available in podcast and videocast format. If you want to re-listen to this episode or access any of our past episodes, go check us out at yournextamazingstory.com. Bye for now.
Love today's episode of the It's Never Too Late show? Then head on over to yournextamazingstory.com to continue the conversation, get access to show notes, and get more amazing content.